Hi, I'm Mylene ELVR, a Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English student. And this video will introduce you and discuss to you the principles of interactive language teaching. Together with my groupmates Liza Tolentino and Giovanni Bravo, we will try to explain to you what the principles of interactive language teaching are. The learning objectives of this lesson are: you should familiarize and understand the principles of interactive language teaching, and you should also gain insights from the principles to better facilitate language teaching. So first, what is interactive language teaching? Wilga Rivers stated through interaction, students can increase their language store as they listen to or read authentic linguistic material, or even the output of their fellow students in discussions, skit, joint problem-solving tasks, or dialogue journals. In interaction, students can use all they possess of the language, all they have learned or casually absorbed in real-life exchanges. Even at an elementary stage, they learn in this way to exploit the elasticity of language. Through interaction, students can create rapport with the teacher and vice versa, and the students may have a good communication among them. The Principles of Interactive Language Teaching by Wilga M. Rivers focuses on the educators and using best practices in developing language learners. Rivers has developed 10 principles that supports the philosophy of language learning and uses a philosophy of teachers as a facilitator who foster an environment suitable for learning. So I will discuss to you the first 4 principles. Principle number 1. The student is the language learner. The first principle focuses on the student language learner and their motivation. It is up to the teacher to discover the motivation for each child through the use of different activities and a variety of course content. Students must realize they are responsible for their own learning. They will take this responsibility more seriously if they themselves discover and work at their own weaknesses and insufficiencies. Principle number 2. Language learning and teaching are shaped by students' needs and objectives in particular circumstances. The second principle discusses the importance of adapting to the students' needs and their objectives, resulting in a change in content and techniques by the educator. It is imperative in the present period of rapid change that language teachers study carefully the language learners in their classes, their ages, backgrounds, aspirations, interests, goals in language learning, aptitude for language acquisition in a formal setting, and opportunities for language use outside of the classroom, and then design language courses and language teaching materials that meet the needs of specific groups. Principle number 3. Language learning and teaching are based on normal uses of language, with communication of meanings in oral or written form, basic to all strategies and techniques. This focuses on providing students with ample opportunity to use language in the everyday language. Students develop fundamental communication skills, including negotiating meaning through the process of conversation interludes. To learn a language naturally, one needs much practice in using the language for the normal purposes language serves in everyday life. This is in contradiction to the artificial types of drills and practices exercises to which many learners are still subjected. Manipulation of structural patterns in some presumed logical order and a sequence that is semantically incoherent does not prepare the learner for normal uses of language. Language practice should already be as close to real communication as practicable. Even practice exercises should be designed to elicit an exchange of new information of interest to the participants. And the last principle I will talk about is the principle number 4. Classroom relations reflect mutual liking and respect, allowing for both teacher personality and student personality in a non-threatening atmosphere of cooperative learning. I believe this is so important. The fourth principle promotes a safe and inclusive classroom with mutual respect amongst the students and the teacher. Students must feel safe to take risks and be vulnerable in making mistakes. An interactive language learning environment requires that students and teachers and students among themselves reach a stage of being comfortable with each other, interested in each other, and respectful of each other's personal temperament, imposed limits. In order to achieve this equilibrium, teachers must feel comfortable with what they are doing, just as students must be comfortable with what they are expected to do. Teachers need to develop a realistic understanding of their own strengths and weaknesses as instructors and as individuals, selecting approaches and techniques that play to their strengths. They must also know how far they can go in interpersonal relations and how they best relate to others, allowing themselves time to get to know their students' individual ways of reacting. Both teachers and students have to be willing to take risks and laugh together when things go wrong. Together they must exercise the fear of failure, which is as real for teachers as for students. So that's the first 4 principles among the principles of interactive language teaching. The next principles are to be discussed by Liza Tolentino and Giovanni
Let's
Bravo.
proceed to Principle 5. Basic to use of language are language knowledge and language control. The fifth principle explains the importance of fundamental framework of a language, and educators must introduce new language with great care and model appropriately. Basic to use of a language is a mental representation of how that language works. We need certain bases of systematic knowledge in order to be able to operate in the language, no matter how minimally. Principle 6. Development of language control proceeds through creativity, which is nurtured by interactive, participatory activities. The sixth principle discusses the benefits of collaboration and the importance of learning from their peer without the assistance of the teacher. The ultimate goal for our students is to be able to use the language they are learning for their own purposes, to express their own meanings, that is, to create their own formulation to express their intentions. Principle 7. Every possible medium and modality is used to aid learning. The seventh principle focuses on the importance of interactive learning. Educators must use a variety of strategies to provide connections for students, and as a result, students' interaction leads to communication through language. Language teaching or learning that restricts itself in the main representation and practice in one modality. Example, the visual in a traditional grammar translation approach does not prepare the learner for a full array of contexts in which items may occur. For these reasons, interactive learning needs to draw on every type of experience to reinforce what is being learned. Physical response, oral input, spoken output, reading materials, written expressions, word puzzles, the actor of drawing what is meant, the manipulation of objects. In the Pestalozzian tradition, interpretation of pictures, acting out of scenes, music, song, dance, purposeful tasks, sample making things, preparing and eating them, gestures, facial expressions, communicative interludes, and so
Testing is an aid to learning. The 8th principle discusses the importance of formative assessment and how tests should be a tool to aid the learning and conducted at an interpersonal level. Testing has so often been punitive. Students become very nervous about tests, which as often as not to seek to discover what the students do not know or cannot immediately recall, rather than providing them with an opportunity to demonstrate to the examiners and themselves what they can do with the language. Many tests written, unfortunately, concentrate on minuet of language, looking for little steps of familiarity with lesser known grammatical usage rather than the broader aspects of comprehensible and acceptable language use. Is this why teachers need answer keys to help them correct tests? We must work to reduce in every possible way the debilitating level of anxiety and apprehension from which many students suffer in testing situations. Explanation. Giving students a test will help them to improve and to have enough knowledge about something. Sometimes students tend to forget what they learn that leads to incompetency. As a future educator, implementing an activity to students that leads to worry-free tasks to lessen the nervousness to them. Additionally, reminding to my students to stay calm at all times because staying calm puts you to the line while moving forward. Principle 9. Language learning is penetrating another culture. Students learn to operate harmoniously within or with contact with it. Focuses on the importance of students learning and understanding different cultures and customs that they may not acquire from a textbook or film and may lead to a misunderstanding once they are in this culture. Through our attempts to understand the cultural linguistic behavior of others, we come to understand our own culture-laden language use. As a result, we emerge enriched as we broaden our experience of human ways of thinking and behaving. We develop a tolerance for difference, even within apparent similarity, and we learn to interact harmoniously and comfortably with others from different backgrounds, within our own and other societies without confusion of our own sense of identity. As a future educator, embracing differences such as race and beliefs of student is a work. Moreover, cultural differences in student makes me to become more approachable to them when they have a problem. The knowledge inside the classroom acquired by students will help them to apply it to their everyday tasks. To sum it up, differences in race, beliefs, culture is acknowledged, and as a teacher, I will treat them equally and accurately. Principle 10. The real world extends beyond the classroom walls. Language learning takes place in and out of the classroom. Discusses the importance of moving away from traditional teaching and promoting a variety of learning opportunities, such as experiences beyond the classroom walls. Language is a natural function of human association. According to Dewey, the more opportunities we have for human association with speakers of our new language, the more potential for growth in control of language for normal uses and spontaneous expression in second language and bilingual situations. Teachers with interactive aims have many possibilities available for strengthening language learning outside of the classroom through facilitating contacts between second language learners and the native speaker community surrounding them. Explanation. Inside the classroom acts as a real world. This place molds the students to be ready to overcome challenges in the real world. As a future educator, sharing knowledge, techniques, and lessons will improve them to be more brave. Language use is a bridge to connect teacher and learner relationships.